Welcome, world, to Nobody's a Nobody podcast with me, Mike McVeigh. This is the podcast where we talk to people who might be considered nobodies in certain spheres, but in my life, they are not a nobody. Today's guest is Courtney Cain, a travel agent with Magical Partners Travel. We also have Jarvis's Hot Dog Song of the Week featuring Bronte. And I am pretty excited about this episode. This podcast started because I wanted to challenge myself with doing something new, and through multiple inspirations, including my friend Rob Trotter's championship speech, 4 Words of Courage, I went ahead and took the step to start something that I'd been wanting to do for a while. We do not currently have any sponsors, but throughout the show I'll give shout outs to various businesses or products that I personally use and find useful. I believe there are many people out there that are looking for an organization to help out with and don't know where that is. Let me recommend to you One of Oklahoma City. That's Our Neighborhood Empowered here in Oklahoma City, oneokc.org. They help people from all specters of life. They want people to succeed, and they do the kind of grunt work necessary. Check them out, and you can donate as little as $5 a month to be a part of their coffee club. It's something I do. It's my family does. Today's guest is Courtney Cain. She is a travel agent with Magical Partners Travel. She's lived in California most of her life and will reflect on some of her experiences regarding Stanford, a very quick how she met her husband, what he does for a living and why that's kind of cool, at least in my opinion, as well as talking about different things regarding travel. The recording is going to be a little bit spotty at times. This is the first time I recorded an interview through the phone instead of my standard way of doing it. So if we get a little rackety, just bear through it. And I think you will agree that it is worth it in the end. So let's jump into the conversation with Courtney Cain.
Have you gotten to go out of the house since mid-March?
This week recently, yeah. Like in the last, California was pretty locked down. A lot less so where I am versus like the Bay Area, of course. We've been out, we've been going to friends' pools actually, and so everything is outside. So it's and it's 100 degrees here. So
Right.
So we've just been, and that's kind of what we started doing over the last month, is doing it like in shifts and kind of spreading out and stuff like that.
I thought you were in the Los Angeles area for some reason.
I am. Well, I'm not in LA County though. Like LA County is where it's been really bad. And then, and it's so like our city is pretty near where 4 counties intersect: Riverside, San Bernardino, Orange, and LA. And LA, mainly LA City, is where it's of course like urban areas and where it's been really bad. And then, but then the other 3, we all are on the lightest restrictions basically allowed. Like our counties have all lifted. We're in phase 3, whatever that means. So, like I got a haircut last week. Like everything is fine. I think gyms are coming back Friday. I think hotels. I'm actually staying in a hotel this weekend in Orange County in San Diego because Ryan's going backpacking, so I'm gonna go and see a friend. So, by myself, social distancing. But so that's all coming. That's all slowly coming back. But I don't know. We'll see about Disneyland. I bet it's probably like mid to end of July if I had to guess, but we'll see.
Do you think it's going to be that far back?
Yeah, here probably, just because they're so, but I think it will take a lot less, they'll probably give less lead time here because it's going to be there's a lot less to open versus Orlando is massive. So that's quite an undertaking. I have actually clients that are supposed to go right when it reopens, and they have been plenty, so they want to go just to get out of the house.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so they're going to still try to go, but we'll see what that means as far as moving them to villas and all that good stuff. Because it sounds like this DVC is opening first. So, yeah, I don't know.
Was this one of the planned years of going to Hawaii in March, or was that not this year?
Oh, yeah, we were supposed to go on a Disney cruise right at April, right when everything shut down for spring break and a couple days at World. So that was disappointing because that had been planned for a year. So right now we're rescheduled for Thanksgiving. My guess is that will probably end up being pushed to spring 2021, depending.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, I think they'll start sailing. I think Disney will start sailing, especially to Castaway Cay. I think it's one of the things where if you've done it a lot, it's fine. But if you want the first, your Disney cruise experience with your pirate night and your fireworks, my guess is they may not do those, until vaccine is on the table. So
Gotcha.
that's just my speculation that they're going to, or reduce capacity, like move people to different ships, stuff like that. So.
I was going to say, it'd be kind of odd for Disney, since they pride themselves in being the organization that always puts a spectacle on for the dollar, to not do that. So I would almost think that they would be reduced capacity. But
right.
You know it much better than me, because you're still doing it.
I mean, that's what the kids, I figured, like we're in, I'm like, we'll go if it's, if it's just, temperature, or even if they could test everybody before they get on, I would be fine with that. But I don't know if Disney will be able to pull that off. If they could do something like that and then have more available on board versus, but I don't want to spend all the money and take the kids if they're only going to get, half the kids clubs. That's silly. So just like I'll go to Disneyland or World because I've been, and I don't need to go on everything and see the fireworks or whatever. But if you're a first time guest or it's your one trip, shebang, then don't waste the money, so. But like your parents and daughter are probably old pros, so.
Well, my daughter's first time to go to Universal as an older kid, teenager age.
Yeah.
She went when she was like 1 or 2 years old.
She'll love it now.
Yeah, she wants to do all the Harry Potter stuff.
Yeah, and that sounds like it's going really well. Yeah, the Universal opening sounds like it's going really well. Actually smoother than Disney. It seems like a lot of travel agents are like, well, come on, Disney, get it together. But
so what's Universal doing that Disney's not right now?
Well, they're opening faster. I think it's just demand. Everybody's been really happy with how just smooth it is. They said like you wear a mask everywhere, but certain areas. They just said it's been very well organized. Like line, low wait times. No one's had trouble getting into the parks.
Huh.
Like there's a couple virtual queues you have to sign up for, like for the bigger rides, but I don't know, people that have gone in the opening weeks just said it's been very, a relaxing experience. It's obviously not crowded.
Right.
They've been able to wait in line easily, social distance, like the mask thing they said, even in the night, the humidity has been, it's not like it's pleasant, but they said even on rides, it's not a big deal. Like people said it's way better than they expected. Like they kind of went in thinking. Yeah, so it seems to be, and Legoland is going well. I don't know if I haven't heard anyone who's gone to SeaWorld yet.
I'm kind of surprised SeaWorld's not going to be one of the bankrupt.
I'm too. I'm like, they're
parks.
Reopening because they laid everybody off, I believe. That's what I heard.
Did they?
Like,
and I was just thinking of all the other controversy that they've never
gotten
into completely.
I don't know. I wonder about San Diego. I don't know if it'll be more hot here because they were already losing so much, and then. And Disney, I know, Disney paid their cast for quite a while, which was really awesome. Their theme park cast, and then they eventually had a furlough, but SeaWorld had to lay everybody off like right away as soon as the shutdown happened. So
since I've been out selling for at least 4 years solid, 5 years I think is when I started making the transition to moving away from selling. But I remember when all the security checks were going on at Universal and Disney in Florida, everywhere else as well, but those are the ones I paid attention to. And the complaints about Universal were just horrendous about what you could not take into the park and what you could not take onto rides. And Disney was the liberal one at that time, and now it sounds like it's kind of reversed a little bit from what you're saying.
With this, it might be a big. People are like, oh, I feel like Disney's just trying to making it so complicated and overthinking. But I don't know, because does Universal have X-ray machines maybe? Because people are worried about that with Disney and bag checks, because right now it's just a manual bag check. When you go through Disney security, they use their hands and gloves, and so they're like, well, if you don't change your gloves, that's gross and all that. So. I think people are worried about that. People are worried about like, oh, they'd rather just put it through an X-ray machine, and then have less manhandling. But I don't know.
I feel like Disney kind of got screwed in that sense because they just have so many more logistics than Universal has typically had.
Yeah. Well, just the amount of parks, the amount of resorts is just insane. So that's why I think it'll probably be a lot easier here. Because there's just only 3 hotels and 2 theme parks that are a lot smaller. Here, the capacity issue is what I see being, because there's so many locals, and I'm sure the reservations are just going to sell out instantaneously is my prediction. It'll make getting a boarding group for Rise of the Resistance look like a cakewalk. So.
Do they still only have 3 hotels
They only have 3. There's because they had the 4th got scrapped because they had a fight with the city. They were building the 4th one, and they
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that was supposed to go in. We're like a Rainforest Cafe and stuff, and then they ended up reopening Earl of Sandwich. They're converting them. I don't know what they're going do now, of course, after COVID. But they are adding on to the Disneyland Hotel. They're adding a fourth wing and a pool, I believe, a second pool or a third pool or whatever.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that's what they're doing. But it is, they had this huge plan, and it was basically all set, and then they got into it with Anaheim. So, or Disney yanked basically Anaheim with, they got into a fight.
Now, I know at least the agency you work for, Magical Partners Travel, is primarily a Disney travel agency, but and you guys do sell travel for other kinds of entertainment outside of Disney and maybe as a whole, as just United States type area as a whole. What are some areas of travel right now that seem to be safer to book for? Or is there anything safe to book in right now?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've been doing, a lot of like outdoorsy stuff. So camping is like surging right now, and RV sales, like a lot. Just that stuff is just flying off the shelves. Anything you can do, kind of distantly. I am not a fan of camping, as you may know. Like I'm very high risk, but okay. Well, I know, and this is how I am actually going for the first time in July. We're going with friends, but everybody has their own campsite. Like you can play outside. I'm probably going to sleep in my car. I'm really not excited, but my husband Ryan loves camping, and then we're going with the guys I work with and their families, and they're from the Midwest, so they're like super gung-ho, like outdoorsy people. Well, one of them is, but they're like beyond, they're like beside themselves that I'm actually going to go do this, and because they know how I like hate this stuff. So they've promised to do all the cooking, all the packing, so I can sit and chill all day. We'll see. Oh no, they're good. I mean, Ryan and Matt, the one teacher, they're very good at it. So we'll see.
Cool.
Yeah, it'll be, and the kids are fun, friends. But anyway, as far as the safe thing, I mean, that's where a lot of people I know are doing this summer is just outdoorsy stuff, getting out in the water, stuff like that.
What about world travel? Is there any place right now that's safer to go from your perspective as a travel agent?
Well, I mean, I don't know if they're open.
Well, that's what it is. That's open. That if someone
Disneyland Australia would be great when they let people back in. But Hawaii still has their quarantine, and that is going to be for I'd say the rest of the summer for the mainland. It sounds like they're going to let in Korea, Japan, lower impacted countries first. Before that's the rumor. Again, not official, but that's what they're talking about. As far as other states, I mean, we're thinking about going like to doing a lot of road trips, of course, are popular because you don't have to worry about airlines with either safe. I think airlines are probably pretty darn clean and safe right now, but also just the flight cancellations or limitations. So, but if you want to feel more secure, obviously a car is going to be a lot. So we're looking at like Colorado, Utah, those places are more open. A lot of people are going like from California are going out to Nevada, Arizona. Now, of course, things are spiking there now. I don't know if that's because of us, but we'll see. But those are kind of just road trips, outdoorsy stuff is in general where most people I know are going this summer. And they're either doing like the beach. The beach is, of course, great because you can spread out, ocean, stay away from people. I love to paddleboard, so I've been doing a lot of that because you're literally by yourself and away from your family that you've been stuck in quarantine with for, 3 months.
Must be nice, being away from being with your family for a month or two.
Oh yeah, I mean of course there are benefits, right? We've all slowed down. I think we've all slowed down life. Like that's been really nice for us, not being busy. My husband, Ryan travels usually at least once a month, more like twice. He's usually always on a plane, and so he hasn't been on a plane since March. So that's kind of working from home. I mean, he's working just as much, but he's home all the time.
Right.
So that has been a little weird. It's just and I'll be honest, I'm getting back into it. Like I said, just took a stay this weekend in a hotel for the first time, and it's like almost a little anxiety-inducing, which is funny because it's like the back of our hand. My kid, the first time my kids stayed at their grandparents, so I don't know, like breaking their social distancing. But they did that was like really almost weird for them. Like they got really emotional and stuff after being home with their kids, but they're used to going, staying in a hotel like it's no big deal. So we're kind of trying to ease back into it that way, I guess, like in a slow, safe manner. We'll see.
Your husband might be the coolest person in the world in a certain sense because of him, the world has been exposed to the Mandalorian.
Yeah, right.
And why don't you just tell us a little bit what you were for the year or two leading up to the launch of this company, this part of the company, and what it's looked like now in the midst of everything else, just being on the wife side or the spousal side of the person doing all that.
Sure. Yeah, so he works for Disney Streaming Services. He's over smart TVs like Samsung, Roku, stuff like that. He works with all that kind of stuff, technology, PlayStation. And it's been a pretty cool process. He was part of the team that came over from BAM Tech Media, which was under Major League Baseball. And that's when Disney acquired them a couple years ago, kind of for this process to put together with the goal of launching Disney Plus. So that's just been really neat for him to be, as Disney fans, since, we're obviously met at Disneyland, we're a huge Disney family. That's just been really fun for him to be a part of that process with the passion and just see something come together, over time, just all the nitty-gritty details of the work going into, working with the designers and how things look and play out and watching stuff that, his people he's seen create and build, come to life in front of bajillions of people. And just getting to talk, he gets to work with different countries all over the world now, the different launch systems as they go out on different things. So that's just been, this has been a cool overlap with the fact that, we're into travel already as it is. So he gets to be a part of that. And it's been really exciting to see. I mean, he's not in charge, I should put it in out there. He's not in charge of content, people all the time being like, hey, when's that, when's that this? Or why isn't this on Disney Plus? Or can you get that? So, I have friends all the time, but he has no control over the production content.
Right.
But although he I think it was when Frozen 2 came out, everyone's like, tell it, because people had already asked me, when is Frozen 2 going to be? And then all of a sudden it turned out, and he was like, yep, that was all me. But it was not. It was not. He has no influence on that. So that's for the public to know. But it's just fun. So he's definitely in the backstage, as you say, end of things. But they've been working hard, and of course with all the shutdowns, everybody was home watching Disney Plus, so they've just been surging and have been an important part for Disney to keep them going. And so it's exciting again. I mean, there's definitely lots coming and in the future. And as a Disney fan,
they're
Disney person,
it's just funny. Next month, they're going to keep going for a while.
No cancellations of Disney Plus. No, thankfully, something is not canceled, right? Yeah. So that's it's just really, it's been he loves his job, he loves being a cast member, he loves working with people, and it's he already did work remote from home before all this happened, except for all of his travels. So that's been the biggest change. But other than that, his life, he's lucky. He has, other than us being here all the time, has not changed that much. So he just gets to, and now he gets to have more people that have been getting used to working remote, and that's cool. It's cool for the company because they've still been able to do a lot and kept things going. So.
Your time is precious. Magical Partners Travel understands this and wants you to get the most out of your trips and vacations. The agents work hard to create the best experience for your trip. You can check them out at magicalpartnerstravel.com and ask for a free quote. Like all the businesses I promote on this show, I am a client, and I currently use Magical Partners Travel as my travel agency for now about 7 years. You work hard for your vacations, so will Magical Partners Travel.
So we've known each other for just about 6 years, and it's been a long 6 years in one sense, because it seems like we've known each other for 20 years or so. Before you got into the travel industry, as far as sales back in 2014, you've had a couple different jobs, but why don't you give a little quick bio of where you grew up, what got you to the place where you were in 2014, and then we can talk a little bit more from 2014 to 2020.
Sure. So, I actually grew up in the Bay Area, in Palo Alto, Stanford country. My dad worked with their financial office up there, so I grew up there. It was a very different town than it was now. Palo Alto is pretty, known from the Silicon Valley. And when I grew up in Palo Alto, it was a lot different than it is now. Like I said, now it's known from HBO TV shows and, of course, just the life of Google in the Valley and the explosion of technology all over the world. So when I grew up there, no one had most people had not heard of it. It was just like, oh, that's near Stanford. That's how you had to identify yourself. And it was a little town. Now it is very different in the 20 years I've been gone. So I graduated high school back in 2000, and then have been down here at UC Irvine. I met my husband actually right before that through his Disneyland website, and that he had created when he was in high school and college at the time. So we were both at UC Irvine, but kind of it didn't really overlap much at different times. And then I was down here in Southern California, and actually originally I did work at Disneyland in a theme park for about a year in college. So that was a lot of fun, just kind of a life bucket list thing.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to UC Irvine. So,
okay.
Yeah, down here in Orange County. So,
like, screw you, Stanford. I don't want your
legacy.
legacy.
My dad worked. I had so many people from my graduating class go there. It was literally across the street, though, from where I was in high school. And my town, it was a unique way to grow up, which I didn't realize at the time, but it was just very academically competitive, like to unhealthy levels. And where you went to college kind of defined you, like where you got accepted. It was just like this huge, pressure. Like, I remember kids getting paged if they got into Stanford or not. Back to date, pagers. Right?
Oh, I remember those. Yeah, I
know, right? So no cell phones. Everyone had pagers. And we were all, it was a lot of rich kids, of course. In that area, not all. It was but there was, it was a time, and a lot of their parents had gone to Stanford. So there was just always like I grew up, having birthdays at Stanford campus, and it was just going to the football games. So it was a lot of fun, but it was just kind of part of like my life, my childhood, and so to just extend that. I don't think I was a very good student, but I was nothing like some of my, Ivy League high competitive, peers. And so didn't even want to apply Ryan at the time was like, you need to apply to prove that, I thought with your dad's connections. I shouldn't say that. That's probably not good to say in public. But I mean, but we were big donors to the school or anything. That were alumni and stuff. We were not. I don't know. So I didn't even apply. I only applied to Southern California schools. I knew kind of that's where I wanted to be. I wanted to be close to home, far from home, but not too far. I wanted to be like nearer to the beach, near to Disneyland, right? I mean, that's like where I was thinking at 18. So, so I didn't even apply. But yeah, and then UC, I actually, was gonna go. I thought about UC. I did get into like UCLA and San Diego, but it was like, So I ended up at Irvine, and they're in a small program within a big school, which is really cool. So I had a good experience there. I actually majored in economics. So I thought I wanted to go to business school because my mom is a teacher, an elementary school teacher, and I was like, or retired now, but at the time, and I was like, nope, not going to be, I grew up helping in her room, not going to do what my parents do. Thought I wanted to be an MBA. When I was a kid, I did want to be a travel agent, which is funny. Like I always loved traveling. It was a really fun job because then they had, we had the offices and they had the brochures and like the old school travel agencies. So brick and mortar, as they say, more like traditional. And so we did use travel agents. So I thought it was a super cool job. But like I remember my parents telling me they get to travel and learn all about all these places. So, but by the time I got to college, I was like, I'm going to be, I wanted to do business, marketing, I think I started with psychology and then I quickly changed to economics. Because I was always kind of like a mathy, nerdy kind of person. But I was like, I'm going to go, and then I could travel when I do business. I could do this. So I didn't really know. And then about 2 years into college, it was kind of like, I'm not really loving. I had to kind of have a reality check because I was just kind of plowing ahead, thinking I'm going to go get my MBA and all that. And then I kind of was like, this is really not my thing. And it was kind of a life-changing when I was actually abroad over in England. And I did come home early because I was just a mental health stuff going on at the time. I was just not in a good place in my life. Not I grew a lot, but I mean, it was through that I actually became like a Christian. It was through that my faith really grew. And it was also through that I was like kind of being out like, okay, let's be real. Like, even though your mom's a teacher, you can still try it. Like, give this a shot. This might be a thing. And so I went back when I got back from England. I'm back settled at UCI and kind of slowed down. I applied and finished college while I was working in an elementary school, and that just was definitely my passion. So I ended up minoring in education and going on to get my teaching credential at Cal State Fullerton, which is another, they call it Cal State Disneyland because it's right down, pretty good down the street. And a lot of kids work there. But that was a great program, subbing, kind of really got myself started. And then I was working in elementary and I did some subbing in middle school, which is terrible. I don't recommend do if you come to my school, but it's very different when you sub in middle school and when you teach it. So my first offer, I was really stressed. I thought I was going to work down in Orange County, back by where I had worked as an aide and student taught and all that. But I ended up getting an offer up somewhere out LA County in a science position in middle school, where I did not expect to. It was like, what? But it was just the first offer I got. It was actually decent. And ended up like falling in love with middle schoolers, which are so weird, but so much fun. And then again, my science, I had an economics, mathy background. I always did okay and well in math and science, but I certainly didn't have a major in that. But I just ended up in California. You just have to go, once you have a multiple credential, you just have to take a class and then take exams in that subject matter.
Oh,
so
really?
That's what I ended. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a lot easier in California to start to multiple and add what's called the single subject credentials, like for middle and high school, than it is to go the other way, because multiple is just way more stuff. So I ended
that
up,
makes sense.
Yeah. So the first one I was teaching, and so I taught there for 6 years. I taught science and math, actually, mostly sixth graders, but some seventh graders. And went on to get my, pass those exams. And because I had the economics, like social science background, I went ahead and got that one in there too. So it's like good to get some marketability. I have some math, science, and social science, like studies for the middle and high school level on some regard. But then I found out when I was pregnant with Matthew, my son, back in 2010, I taught up until literally the day he was born, but that was in September, the start of a new school year. And that's our joke, is that he was almost born in science classroom, and now he's my definite science engineering kid. But and it took time off, so that was up to 2010, and that was when I kind of took time, to be home with him. Took a leave of absence, and decided ultimately to take time off from, working outside the home full time.
Right.
So had him, and then 3 years later had daughter Jennifer. So who's definitely a spitfire. And then when I was home, I was always, I wasn't ever one to sit. I did still sub, or I worked for, I taught part-time for a while. And then I was very involved with MOPS, which was like a church, moms organization here. So I always had some other project, to keep me, which is kind of how I'm wired. I was never like truly just, doing, I think personally, now that I've done both, I think stay-at-home moms have in many ways a much harder job. It was more for my mental state. I was going to do other things, but I have moms that do way more, so that I have a lot of admiration for. But so then it was 2014. So that was with Jennifer, was not even 1, right? 6 years ago, because now she's 6.5. That the whole travel agent thing came back from my childhood with Bryant, who was starting this had started this travel agency and had recruited a friend of mine before me, my friend Lindsay. And then, that was kind of how he was like, hey, and I was like, whatever. I'll be honest, I was like, oh, cool, I'll get some extra money. It's Disney. I do Disney stuff anyway. And then it kind of just took off. It kind of clicked. And so it was just something that worked out. I don't know if I was by that, but I did end up teaching online, part-time from home, doing some online stuff. So I never completely stepped out of education, but it was just it was just a fun thing, having to do that from home.
If I remember correctly, you actually taught college economics as well, didn't you?
I don't know if it was high school. There might have been one college kid. I'm not sure. It was kind of a unique. It was a mixed grade level thing. But it was great because both that and the travel agency stuff I could do from the road and traveling. So if I was up with my parents, or I was even doing stuff from Alaska. I've done stuff from pretty much everywhere. So that's kind of a cool, especially right now in the remote world. It's kind of a cool thing to be able to do, and that was just something that ended up taking off. And then it was 2 years ago that you decided you were going to bail out of the whole ownership thing, right?
I don't know if I'd use the word bail out, but that's when I decided that it was not my area to concentrate on anymore.
Right. So, I don't think I never said, but it's been kind of a cool circle back, as they say, because it kind of going back to the business background, economics, and I didn't, but thinking I was going to go and get my MBA and do that side of things. So it's been a lot of fun to then take over now that we have some really awesome travel agents that can handle a lot of the selling and all the customer service. So like taking over that has just been another new experience. It's kind of like my secret life, because I did step back into that. Actually, that right after that, unexpected. It was kind of unexpected going back into teaching part time, and now easing back into full time with middle school science at my kids' school, Ontario Christian. And so that was fun because it was like, with all my coworkers there, the other teachers, it would finally come out. They're like, "You own a travel agency?" Like, sweet. And they get super. So now, they do. It's just like this. It's like this badge of honor. Like, whoa, it just makes people look at you. So that's the joke. Whenever I take time off of or taking days off of the classroom to go and do stuff for Magical Partners Travel, like in Orlando or whatnot with Disney or events, so I was like, oh, she's taking off for her secret life. Her
Your
secret Courtney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Possible? No.
Right. Yeah. So, but it's cool. They've gone together real well, because everybody likes to travel. Everybody likes Disney. So it's kind of been a neat, I've gotten to do a couple of things where I feel like my lives are intersecting more. So it's been kind of neat.
So one of the things that I guess that you can do a really huge favor to travel agents across the world, depending on how you answer these questions. Before you were a travel agent, did you or your family use travel agents when you traveled?
We did growing up. Like I was saying, I remember going to the office with my parents. It's funny. When I was last at my parents, I found this packet that our travel agent had put together for us for a trip in the 90s to go to Europe, and it was like so funny. I was like, oh, I guess this guy is making me look bad. But like booklet and coloring and like all the paperwork. It was really cool. It was like a whole bound itinerary for a 3-week trip that he had put together. And I could remember my parents calling him from Europe with issues or like questions or how do we do this. And he was just like the guy, he put together, and the trip was amazing. Like he definitely knew, what he was talking about. He must have gotten to know my dad and what my parents were looking for. And it was a trip we had to postpone because we were supposed to go one summer and my mom had major health issues. We had to postpone it entire, kind of like with this COVID stuff, having to postpone a year, basically reset the button. And, he took care of all that. So, that's something I see now for travel agents that I'm finding is that with all these poor people who, big 2020 plans have been upended, and it's travel agents that are navigating a lot of that for people, getting them the refund, getting them rebooked, getting them taken care of and dealing with all that, at least that part of the headache. So I have had people say that, like, hey, for all the headaches that people are going through with job loss and of course, all the stress and everything that's come with the pandemic, I think that's definitely been, travel agents are obviously taking a huge hit right now financially. They're hurting for sure too, but they love their job. I think I'm just seeing how much most travel agents, that they love their job. They love helping people. And that's where they they're getting on there with navigating all these COVID restrictions, getting people rebooked, how to do it safely, how to do it effectively.
And if you think about it, though, from the mid-'90s to now, if the COVID-19 would have broken out in the mid-'90s, it would have been much more devastating to travel agents as a whole because there was no such thing as online businesses and the brick and mortar. Because the way that travel industry shifted. For those of you that don't know, back then the travel agent was the point of contact, basically, to schedule everything. That's the reason why they had the brochures and stuff. You didn't have pictures that you could just look on the internet and say, I want to go there. Totally. And there's a bigger percentage that went to travel agents from the travel, or you paid the travel agent additional money to be able to have the pleasure of their knowledge to help you guide you on your trip. Now, this is actually, I think, one of our first selling points at Magical Partners Travel is, hey, you can schedule the vacation yourself, but then we can help you with some of the finer points that you don't have to focus on, and you don't pay a penny more.
Right, and that's like what I did not know, because when I grew up in with the 90s and booking in an office, I always assumed like it was like this concierge extra service that my dad, like you said, you hired this person to do that for you. And I had no idea that whenever you book anything, at a hotel, a cruise, whatever, that always a chunk of that is just if you do not use a travel agent, then the company just keeps it. It's just extra money. So you don't pay anything extra. I think that was like and still to this day, most people are shocked. Like, well, I don't want to use travel, or what do I pay you? Or I want to pay you something. I'm like, no. Like they pay me, so, and it's just, it's the same price to you as if you went and clicked it yourself. So that's, like you said, it's neat because for people that are, you can send people links and they can look at the hotel themselves, but then, and give you, to get feedback, but ultimately you can still be there to handle the headaches and the details and the planning, and it doesn't cost them a penny. So.
And granted, there are still trips that there are, the top travel agents in the game overall, you definitely pay them a separate salary than what they do for their vacation, but that's a whole other tier that most of the people, of my tens of listeners right now, I'm assuming both your kids are listening in the background while I'm speaking, so I'm up to 10. So it's definitely a different world. So I want to schedule a vacation next year for Disney World or I will say Disney World. That way you can make a couple extra dollars. Why should I use a travel agent? Why should I just do it myself?
The expertise and headache. I mean, to me, something especially like Disney World, and that's where I think Disney travel, is big, is that there's just so much that goes into it. I mean, there's knowing where to stay. You're trying to pick out of 30 plus resorts, the benefits of on property, off property, figuring out how in the world to navigate, like dining reservations, and we'll see what happens from COVID if long term, but just fast passes, lines, like the amount of planning that goes into the Disney vacation these days is just intense. I mean, it's a lot. Like, it's planning in advance, it's figuring out, prioritizing. It's a lot of getting up, at the crack of dawn and to score things, which travel agents are weird. We get like really excited when we get all the reservations we want, but it's just having someone that's done that and navigates it and knows it very well, versus if you go in blind at Disney, you can spend a lot of time wasted, in the heat and line. And then, it's funny, I have one of my coworkers that I'm going camping with, my friend Matt, has not taken his kids to Disneyland yet, which is sort of a sore point with us. He will be going. We were supposed to go this summer. COVID, of course, derailed that, but they will go, and he's agreed to go because he's going with an expert, with a travel agent. But why does he hate? He is very put off. Why does he hate Disney? The cost, right? The price tag, and I don't want to go. He hates standing in line waiting around. So he pictures a day, at Disney, which I've seen. I'm sure you've seen as well, where people just go and are miserable the entire time. They have whiny kids, they're like, waiting, they're wasting, they paid all this money and then they're paying more money. And a travel agent just really helps you, a good travel agent that knows the product just helps you avoid all of that. They just help make it and they add to the magic. I think that's what the biggest why I enjoy it, and I know my top agents enjoy it, is they just love help planning people make like these amazing memories. And making it extra special and making the most out of that dollar and having that time together as a family. That's why we love to travel, because it's quality time as a family where we're not distracted by our household duties or jobs, and we're seeing new places and new people and connecting in a new culture. And Disney's obviously a little bit different, and I guess it's its own culture in itself. But yeah, it's just being out there in those memories. And I think that's where I would just say is just don't try to do, again, you're not paying anything extra. You're going to Disney, find a good agent, and they're going to love it. They're going to do all the hard work for you. They're going to spend the hours on the phone, making changes or whatever, internet phone. They're going to be the one, telling you exactly how to avoid like that miserable, or idea that some people have, or just where you go and you're exhausted, and just making it a really fun, seamless time where you get the best experience because they know the best restaurants, they know how to get, the deal. It's a concierge. It's like what I always think of. It's like if you love to stay as a perk, if you ever have a club, a personal assistant, agent or a concierge. Like that's kind of what a travel agent does. They're someone that knows exactly, they know the product, they take care of all that for you, but it doesn't cost you anything. So it's not like only reserved for the quote elite or the, you know, the wealthy. It's literally like a free perk, but most people don't know and they don't take advantage of it. So I know plenty of people that have hated because of that. That's their vision of Disney is, you know, like lines cost nightmare.
Well,
they just never known.
As bad as lines are, really the thing that trips up a lot of people is they don't realize how hard it is to get into premier restaurants.
Yeah.
At Disney World specifically, though even Disneyland has a little bit of a problem sometimes, but if you're wanting to book Cinderella's Castle, you can book up, unless they've changed it, it's 180 days in advance. Is that correct still?
Yeah, with COVID right now, things are a little bit
right.
funky, and they're not that might change. But I mean, yeah, and it's still going to be competitive regardless. So
whenever we have a long trip at Disney World, meaning more than 5 days, we're actually planning out a year in advance what we're wanting to do, only because, you know, if I want to eat at Brown Derby, which isn't as hard to get into now as it used to be, but
right.
Exactly 6 months or exactly 180 days at like 5 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
Get on that phone and call. And I will tell you, me being a person who prefer to sleep until 1 or 2 in the afternoon every day, it is nice to have someone else do that, and I don't have to pay a dime to.
Right. Yeah. I mean, for California, I have a lot of West Coasters. So for us, that's 3 a.m. You know, and we're up there. And I mean, and a lot of times we do it as a team effort because we really care about our clients. So like. One of my agents, Barbara, she and I will often get up together. She's in Colorado, so she got a little more sleep than I do, but we'll get on and we'll tag team. You grab this, I grab this. I mean, it's like, sure, we love it, but, and most people just have no clue when they get up or last minute, well, I want to go here, and then they're sad or their kid is sad or whatever. It's just having that all taken care of, like you said, it's just, I don't know. That's stuff I just didn't realize even before I became a travel agent, like how much, I always knew the benefit, but I just had no idea that was all basically free to the guest. And yeah, like why wouldn't you?
One of the other things I always enjoyed that I don't know if everybody else can appreciate is that when we're scheduled, oh goodness, I just missed it. When the new deals come out for different packages, it's really easy sometimes to see one part of that package as a customer and say, oh goodness, there's free dining plan. I want that. And then they don't realize that, and that might be the best thing for the customer, but that's why one thing a travel agent can do, they can talk with you about what you're actually trying to get out of it, because the dining plan that you get for free might only be $1,000 and you're currently paying $2,000 for your dining plan. But the hotel that you would have to stay at to be able to get that free dining plan might be way below your standards or might be way above your standards to be able to make that work out. And sometimes the $25 off coupon or something that looks stupid is actually a better savings than switching over to something that sounds really good compared to what you would actually be getting if you trust the advice of those above you and stuff. But that's my one. I won't continue talking because I'm not being interviewed, but
no, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think a good agent is going to know that. They're going to know the family. They're going to know what their priorities are, and to be able to navigate that, because definitely that's where you have people that get frustrated is trying to figure. It can be very overwhelming, you know, dealing with theme park planning and itinerary, and you want to, you know, enjoy yourself and there are people, of course, that love. I have clients like the ones that want to go right when they reopen. They love planning. If he wasn't an ophthalmologist, I would hire him as a travel agent. You know, but he and I work together. In that case, it's like you can still work together. And he likes my expertise, that I can navigate things that he can't read on fan blogs or things like that. And we kind of work as a team that way. So that's just where, you know, like. Yeah, I mean, this is where, again, it's just a free benefit. It's a free second set of eyes, if nothing else. Even if you're a Disney like pro, my clients a lot now, and now they know what they're doing a lot more. But it's, even if you're not a first timer, it's just having that partnership. I just had a client that's kind of what made it that she went a little over a year ago to Disney World with her parents and her kids, and just in the middle of all this COVID stuff, her dad was right before that, and then passed away from melanoma. And she wrote me this very just, you know, fear-inducing email that just how he talked on his that was his thing. I'm so glad I did that trip, and everything was taken care of and it was so magical. I mean, it just warms your heart because it gives you a real purpose, that you're helped for what you're doing. But you can really help. If something as cheesy as I want to plan your trip to Disneyland, it's like it can be so much more than that. If you really make those meaningful things and help people, and that they were able to just go and relax and have that time as a family that at the time they didn't know it, but it ended up being, their last trip together.
Right.
So, yeah. So those things just those are things that spur me on if I'm ever having a bad day. Those are the emails I reread, but it's just that's where I think a travel agent can be a huge, that the personal, you just make those personal connections that are really neat. So,
right. Well, if you're wanting to book a vacation with Courtney, whether it be Disney, Hawaii, she does a lot of Hawaii. In fact, she was my expert when I was the owner of the travel agency, but she can book you pretty much anything, and she's not the only one there, but she has a specific website, wecaintravel.com, which will be in the show notes. But if you want to just have a travel agent specifically for Disney type things, you can also go to magicalpartnerstravel.com, and Courtney and several others that are part of that agency will give a stellar job. If they don't do a good job, then blame the owner. Not the previous one, though.
They're pretty rock star. Yeah, there's a pretty rock star team. And then, the We Cain Travel blog is just my own thoughts. I blog about, it's just tips, travel tips, my own experiences. I did just do one about kind of the stuff you were asked, doing stuff during COVID. What's safe to do, local staycation excursions that mine, I'm in Southern California, but I'm sure you could find similar things depending on your part of the country. So,
and I do have one little brag thing that's not necessarily towards Courtney or even me. The guy who actually started Magical Partners Travel, Bryant, my cousin, he made some forms that literally people who have been in travel agency for over 30, 40 years were actually kind of jealous when they found out that Bryant kind of made these up, because Bryant just made these really cool booking forms that solve so many issues. And he deserves all the credit. And
he really does. He's we're a small agency. We've never had to pay one of the big, software companies, because I've looked at all of them and nothing is as good as Bryant's forms. And he was the founder of MPT, and it's pretty cool. And now, it's cool for him because he always had to go. We're an authorized planner by Disney, so we're quote earmarked, and that it's just been neat that even with just our few little team of people and Bryant's vision, that we've come a long way in 6 years, which is crazy.
And though I definitely prefer for everybody to book with Magical Partners Travel, we also recognize not every travel agent is going to be a fit for any specific customer, because there's going to be things. But please, if you're going to book a vacation that you're going to be spending more than a few days, and we're not talking about just at a couple of hotels, but even then, please consider hiring a travel agent, because you'll not be paying any more, probably be paying less, and it helps once all this COVID stuff passes, it will help the economy run a little bit more fluently for multiple people.
Yeah.
So the next part of the show is my circuit breaker lockdown questions. So I'm going to ask some questions that I have not prepared you for at all, correct?
Correct.
Now, they're not necessarily yes or no questions, but just answer them. I'm not going to give you a whole lot of background. I'm just going to ask a question. These are questions that were generated by my friends on Facebook of asking, what would you like to have asked about you in an interview, like for radio or podcast? And I picked the ones that I thought were either the best or the worst, or just anything to rub Courtney the wrong way. I don't know.
Awesome. Okay.
All right. So the first question is going to be from my friend. We'll go deep to start with. Amanda. If you were to leave this life tomorrow, what's the one thing you would like people to have known about you?
Oh my goodness, these are deep. Okay.
Well, the first one is, at least.
Yeah. The one thing, if you, I guess I really treasured deep, ironic connections with friends, with family and loved ones. I really treasure those deep, those one-on-one, deep, things that you really kind of that email I just shared about that you can make a difference, that you do, that even if it's a small thing, that's how you make a difference. And that my faith in God and Jesus is the center point of my life. That's what I would say.
We'll continue along with the serious thing. We'll go from Amanda to Mandy. And how have you learned to get along so well with people who think and believe so differently than you?
Ooh, I love that question. I love that question because that's like probably my other passion is that that's really been come out and grown in me in the last few years, both through working with MPT. Because coming from the Bay Area and then working with MPT and getting to work with people all over the country, travel agents and meeting people from all over, right. that is why I travel. That is, now it goes back to the first question, but that is with those personal connections. That's just my thing in life is, especially in our country where everybody is so divided right now and just always fighting, just that you can making those connections and bridges with people that are different than mm-hmm. you and listening is just, it's like fireworks. That just makes me, it's happened with MPT. It's coming from the Bay Area. And now when I came down here and living in a very different place that I grew up, but now it's talking to people and about how my life, just going, how even, you going to Oklahoma, that was so awesome. Just a completely different way. And now I work at a Christian school, which is not how I grew up, but now those guys are all, and girls, my closer friends are from all the Midwest. And we grew up, we're this close in age, and we grew up in night and day background. And I just love, it's an exchange program. I just thrive on that. And that's why I love,
Okay, you started cutting out, but now it's going back to normal. You just go back.
Yeah.
You just keep.
When I got all excited. Right. I love making those connections that we grew up in. That's where it's been really, and I guess it's frustrating because it's been hard being, it was hard being a new travel agent and that kind of change, getting to know people, and then coming back to work as kind of an outsider at this school where everybody's known each other for so long was really rough and have different backgrounds than me. But it's just it's just so important. And that's why, that's been my, you can ask any of them, it's been my mission at that school. It's about inclusivity and diversity and respecting those different, because we all have different backgrounds and what you bring and how when you all use those, how the world is just a better place if you can use to work and value those differences and use them for good. And that's that's why I love travel. I love going, whether it's Greece or Oklahoma, that's my favorite part is just spending time with people from that, who live there, who culture. And, you just make, my kids have made connections. I love watching my kids going, playing on a playground in France or again, if France, it could be down, it could be 3 hours away from here, but just to come, but you're in a different time or lifestyle. It's awesome. Sorry. I get so excited about connecting with people.
Well, that's good. Don't apologize. Well, now we're going to have Amy's question. What has been the most influential book in your life?
Mike's book about
the first time this will be mentioned on this podcast that I read a book.
Yeah. I don't save hard copies of a lot of books because of this clutter. I'm an anti-clutter person, but I save yours. It's right here. Becoming Oaks by Mike W. McVeigh.
So why was that influential? Sorry, that took me. I didn't think about that. That's funny, but...
that was, why? I just think it was cool. Again, hearing your in that just the story. I like the analogy of how the acorn and becoming the oak and the growth. Again, I think just all those things that how God can grow us and work and things. Even things like COVID-19 has been another example for me because a lot has been grown or come aware and through a kind of an unexpected situation. But just all and for that, it was just your personal biography part and all some things I didn't know about you. And how you have grown through all of your pursuits in life, one of which was, owning MPT, but way before that, your passion. Yeah, I did think it was because that was just stuff I related with, your different passions. And one I just read, but it kind of connects with your book, is Jennifer Fulweller. She's a Catholic Christian comedian. Your blue flame, finding your blue flame, which is she just released in April, but it was that's actually very similar about finding your passion and how it might not always be the same thing, there's seasons in life, but about how your calling, your blue flame, what your thing that you're meant to do versus they actually go together. See, look at that.
Cool. I'm gonna have to check that book out now.
Yeah.
My friend Rashad, and I considered him more or less the Oscar Wilde of the internet generation, though he's very well known in my mind and people I went to high school with and everywhere else. It just depends. But if you were a tree What kind of pizza would you eat?
Oh, my word. I love that. Okay. What? If I was a tree, what kind of pizza would I eat?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think something very plant or vegetal, something sunlight. See, I'm like thinking very science-like right now. So as a tree, you need like, you need the vitamins, the light, the water. So I don't know, something like. But I was thinking of palm trees and like Hawaiian pizza. So I'm gonna go with that because it would have plants, vegetal. It's just kind of sunshine. It makes me think of sunshine, and then it's gonna help you grow. And those are what you need as a tree.
So your answer is pineapple pizza or Hawaiian
pizza?
Hawaiian,
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, we got some really screwed up people here. Oh goodness! So you're the second one of all the people I've interviewed that have mentioned Hawaiian or pineapple on their pizza. So no wonder we have problems in America.
What? I don't necessarily love Hawaiian pizza, like personally.
Only if you were a tree. Okay,
yeah.
I can accept
like
that.
it. I'll eat it. Like I don't dislike it. But it's not like I'm going to go, I would not go order that at a restaurant. But if I'm a tree, yeah, it's going to help me out. That makes sense.
All right.
Sunshine. Uh-huh.
I'll accept it. It's not the best answer, but it's a viable answer. So, all right. And my friend Adrian asked this question, and I'm not. But do you remember Harry Carey, the Chicago Cubs announcer?
No.
No? Okay. Well, he was the one that always did like seventh inning stretch and would have everybody saying like, "Take me out to the ball game."
Okay.
And Saturday Night Live during the late '90s, early aughts, Will Ferrell did a Harry Carey impression that was really funny. And this question is, I guess, was a Harry Carey question that Adrian brought it up. And so my worst or my best Harry Carey voice: if you were a donut, would you eat yourself?
No. Because I'm not a donut. I'm not a donut
but
person.
If you were a donut. Okay, gotcha.
I'm not a big donut. Now, if I were other things, I would like dark chocolate, like coffee, like things I'm really into.
So what if you're
like tortilla
a dark
chips?
Donut?
Maybe. Yeah, I'm not a big donut. Donuts are too sweet. I'm not. That's not my salty like chips, pasta. Like those are things. Bread, sourdough warm bread. Yeah.
I will say that the answers I get for that one in particular, I'm probably going to just do a little mini show that's just everybody's answer to that question. Is there anything that you would like to state that I didn't ask or that you want to make sure to share to my maybe 30s of people now?
No, I don't think so. Just, hang in there. Like, stay, obviously stay safe, stay healthy, but, use a travel agent, get out there and find those connections, find those people. Don't be afraid to talk to people that are different than you. There we go.
All right. Thank you, Courtney. It is always a pleasure talking to you, especially since most of the time I get your voicemail.
Hot dog. Hot dog. Hot dog.
Hey, it's Jarvix again with Make Oklahoma Weirder, here to bring you this episode's hot dog song pick. This episode, I'm bringing you some electronic music from the Norman area. We'll be listening to a track called Everything Turns Out All Right by a producer named Bronte. I hope I'm getting that pronunciation right. I could be wrong. It's spelt Bronte. I don't think I've actually met this person, but I have been following his music for a little while now, and I actually wrote about this track earlier this year on my music blog. I premiered the music video that went along with it in promotion for his new album called Here For You, which released back in February. While it would be accurate to call Norman-based musician Bronte an electronic music artist, it might send the wrong message. His work is instrumental and composed within a computer, yes, but it's also remarkably organic. For folks that still think of electronic music in terms of dubstep drops and techno beats, it bears repeating that the electronic genre is a fairly outdated, woefully nonspecific term. Bronte is a good example as to why. Titled Everything Turns Out All Right, this is the second lead single to Bronte's upcoming 2020 album, Here For You. It comes fresh on the heels of Sun Drenched, which released earlier this month. Where that track had a bright, mischievous quirk to it, though, Everything Turns Out All Right is more in line with efforts like Bronte's underrated 2019 album, Native. It meditates in gradual, atmospheric builds along a running path of hypnotic sample loops, culminating in a splendorous, pulsating glow before receding like an ocean tide at the golden hour. This is Everything Turns Out All Right by Bronte.
Thank you so much to Courtney Cain. Check her partners out at magicalpartnerstravel.com and read her blog, We Cain Travel. Thank you, Jarvix, for featuring Bronte. We'll have how you can listen to more from Bronte in our show notes. Please support oneokc.org. And thank you so much for listening. No matter what, nobody is a nobody, and we'll see you next week. Well, at least talk to you.